Hello, welcome to my channel, Life by Shauna, in the car with my hot husband. This is probably the first video I have made for my YouTube channel without makeup, except I got some mascara, a little lip gloss. Anyways, I was going to get some on, but it's in the back of the car, so all natural, almost. Anyways, okay, so today I've got some exciting news. We did a thing and it's been in the works for a while. So as par for the course with my channel, and I'm just sharing the journey, it's in regard to our house. We sold our house. But we haven't found a house to buy yet. So I just wanted to share this story with you guys because I think it's helpful to hear other people's journey, how they go through it, how they're believing God for things, and how it works out. So, do you want to be in this video right here?
I'm trying.
Okay, he's driving. Okay, so he's right there. He's so cute. Anyways, so what happened, as you guys know, I've been talking about this for 2.5 years. We've been praying and believing God for a house. There's been some things happen. God has spoken some things. And if you've been hearing the channel, you know kind of what's been going on. Well, recently, about 1.5 months ago, I found a house. That's actually my friend's house that she put it up for sale. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you were going to sell your house. She's like, I didn't know you wanted to buy. So, you know, we have a list, as I've said before in one of the other videos, we have a list. And I've been in the house before, so I knew what it was like, but it was not the list, right? And so, but you know, here we've been praying for 2.5 years. Our kids aren't getting any younger. And we're just like, let's go look at the open house. I told TJ, I'm like, let's just go look at it. And I know it's not the house we've been praying for. So if we were to get this house, it would be like an interim house because we would still be praying for the house that we've been believing God for. But maybe, you know, I don't know how God works. Like, we like to think that, oh, we're going to pray this prayer and God's going to bring us from point A to point B, like linear, so easy. And like sometimes in my mind I picture it like, oh, I want to just be in my little convertible, you know, on an Italian highway, you know, just peacefully going my direction. And a lot of times God's like, buckle up, buttercup, we're going on a roller coaster. You know, I don't know the way God's going to go. Sometimes he goes like in loops. Sometimes we go back. Sometimes we go forward. And so I was like, maybe we should look at this house and pray and see if this is like an interim house. Like, because we don't know. So we went to look at it. We're like, yeah, it's not the house, but we like a lot of things about it. So it was a Sunday when we saw it. We got up early Monday morning and we prayed for like 2 hours, asking God like a yes or a no. Like, do we go forward with it? Or are we supposed to keep believing for the house? The house. We didn't get a yes or no. We just had peace. We just had like a good feeling about it. So TJ was like, well, we're going to go forward and ask that if it's not from God that the doors will close. So that's what we did. And we learned some things. And this is all part of the story. So one thing is we had our taxes were filed as an extension. We hadn't filed them hard filed yet. And because of some different things, we have an Airbnb. And they were like, because of that, the taxes have to be hard filed. And so we're like, okay, we didn't know. That's super helpful information. And so we got that done. Our tax guy was out of town for a week or for several days. So by the time we got the stuff back to our loan guy, it was a week later. By that time, the people already had an offer on the house. That morning that we were like, because we got the taxes back like a Tuesday night. So Wednesday, we were like, wow, we could buy a house today, you know? And it was that feeling of like a little bit of disappointment, because it's like, this isn't what we've been praying for, but also some excitement. So there's just like kind of up in the air. And, you know, it was a bit of a ride that day. Just, you know, we thought we had it. We thought we didn't have it. We thought we had it. We didn't have it because of some different extenuating circumstances. At the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, we were only going to be able to put an offer in on the house if it was contingent upon us selling our house. There were some different things, like we couldn't use my income because I hadn't worked on my credit score since the divorce, and you guys who have been following along know that whole thing. I've been in court with my ex about all that stuff, and so like we couldn't use my income, just a lot of different things. And really, to put in a good offer in this market, you can't have it contingent upon your house selling. So at the end of the day, we're like, wow, we did not expect to not get the house because of that reason. And so we even talked about, like, we are serious about wanting a different house. Like, do we put our house on the market and sell it and maybe find a rental? But like, that's a big pain. And we're like, no, we're just not going to do that. We're not going to do that. So that was on a Wednesday. The following Thursday, I have a good friend that you know, when both of us were single, we helped each other out, and she cleans houses, and I have her come clean my house like maybe once every 5 months. Okay, so because I can clean a house, but like, she's cleaning the globes of the light fixtures, you know, and I'm not going to do that. And so I had scheduled 2 months before for her to come and clean my house that following Thursday. So a week later. So she cleaned it that day. This has relevance. She cleaned it that day. That night, I walked in, I'm just like, oh my gosh, my house looks so good. That night, TJ was with one of his friends who does normally more commercial real estate. Anyways, one of his friends, and he's like, hey, and he knows our entire situation. Like, he knows we were trying to put an offer in on this house. He knows all the details. And he's like, hey, I've got this friend and another friend of his. He goes, I have this friend. I've been showing him houses that I think would be in your price range. He doesn't like anything he sees. I think he'd like your house. Would you be willing to let me show it? He's like, sure. Well, he came and loved it and put an offer in on it. The cool thing about this situation was he doesn't have to be in the house right away. So we're closing on the house, and then we're going to rent it back from him for a few months. So it's not like we have forever to do this, but just the way it all worked out, we feel like the Lord's hand has been in it, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Amen. Because this really isn't like part of your, like, what you would normally do on a normal basis. Yeah. He likes to have all his ducks in a row, and you know, I do too, but I have had to go through some times of believing God for houses, and this to me feels a little bit like an adventure. And so, but you know, just the way it all worked out, it's like we were praying that other house just the week before, if God didn't want us to have that house, that he would close the doors. And here's the thing. There were a lot of great things about that house that could have worked for us. And this friend of his friend was looking for a house. Like, if God wanted us to have that house, he could have put that together a week before and we would have got the house. But he didn't. And you guys know, I've been doing that Bible through in a year chronologically. Not like chronologically like the books of the Bible, but like how it's happened in time. And one of the things that has stuck out to me so much is the sovereignty of God, but also the timing of God. How God's timing is just in it. And I've seen it in so many ways in my life, in our life, coming together in so many ways. And so just the way it's worked, we're stepping out in faith. And it is a big step because, we've been looking for 2.5 years and haven't found the right house for us. So now we have this little timeline and there's not a whole lot on the market, but we're believing that God is up to something. So as always, I'm just sharing in the journey how we're believing God. I don't know how it's going to work out. But you can ride along. You can ride along and see the journey in our life. One thing God had shared with me. Oh, my hand's getting tired. Okay, is that better? Nope, it's not. Okay. One thing. Sorry about that. When I was believing God for my first house that I got years and years ago, it was when me and my kids, the kids' dad, we had a home, we had a business, we were self-employed. And if you know about being self-employed and taxes, like, we took all the deductions, like, the way you're supposed to do it, but, you're just trying to show as little income. Well, applying for a home loan, it's like a catch-22, like, it's not always the best. And so we were having trouble finding a house because we couldn't qualify for what we could actually afford and all of that stuff. And so God had given me a verse, and it was in Psalms, and it says, he has set my feet upon a rock and established my goings. And it was like one of those rhema words, where like God is speaking directly to my situation. And he was saying, like, because we had been renting, and he was saying, like, I'm going to establish you in your own home. And so I took that verse and it became part of me, where I would quote that verse all day long, like at least 10 times a day. God has set my feet upon a rock. He's established my goings. He has set my feet upon a rock. I thank you, God, that you have set my feet upon a rock and established my goings. And so it was kind of interesting that when I became single, the Lord quickened this verse to me. It wasn't I wasn't reading it. It just came up, because I had known it from the past. And it was the verse that says, he has put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to my God, and many shall see it in fear and put their trust in the Lord. And the Lord was saying to me, because like it was a hard situation, the Lord was saying, through my situation, through my testimony and sharing what God was doing in my life, that verse would minister, like that verse was going to be my life, that many shall see it in fear and put their trust in the Lord, because they would see the stuff that I was going through and the answered prayers and how God moved and worked in my life, and know that this was from the Lord, that this was only something that God could do. And so as I've been single, I would say that verse, but I went to go look up that verse, like after the Lord spoke that to me. And that verse is right after the other verse. So the whole thing is, he has set my feet upon a rock, He's established my goings. He has put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to my God. Many shall see it and fear and put their trust in the Lord. And I've seen that happen in my whole situation. I've seen it happen with the way God has brought me and TJ together. I mean, it's like a relationship. The story of it is such a God story. The fruit, like our relationship, is just something that we both dreamed and hoped that we would have, like when we were younger, and it didn't quite work out that way, but now we have it. And then, but I also believe that God is using that verse even for this story, for us believing God for a new house, that many shall see and fear and put their trust in the Lord, because we believe that God's going to do something awesome. Because really what we're believing for and what it looks like we could actually afford in the natural don't pair up, especially in this market with like no houses out there and such. And so I don't know how it's going to work out, but I've said from the beginning that I would try and be faithful to share my journey and to share the story as it happens, even though I don't know how it's going to work. I don't know the answer. So that's all. I want to put that out there. So yeah, do you have anything you want to share? No. He's like, no. That's all. Thanks for joining me. See ya.